The Command Intrinsics are the new type of intrinsics added to the Railjack system with the rework. They allow you to employ AI crew members and command them. This is a big change to the Railjack because it allows you to play it solo. This was previously either extremely hard or practically impossible. In this video I will cover the Command Intrinsics ranks up to rank 9, what to look for when you are hiring crew members and what you can expect them to do in missions. You can spend your intrinsics points to unlock the intrinsics ranks either at a dry dock or at the console left from the alerts panel in your orbiter. Rank 1 allows you to hire your first crew member, and ranks 3 and 5 allow you to hire 2 more. Ranks 2, 4 and 6 allow you to assign 1 competency point to your crew members, 3 points total for each member. And then rank 7 allows you to redistribute these 3 additional points. Rank 8 allows you to employ converted Kuva Liches as defender crew on your Railjack. And finally, rank 9 allows you to designate one of your crew members, excluding Liches, as being on call, and they can then be summoned to aid you in normal missions. Rank 10 is not available yet. The crew will fill empty spots in your squad during Railjack missions. So if you are completely alone, you will have 3 AI crew members. If you have 1 Tenno in your squad, you will have 2 crew and so on. You will need to hire crew members from Ticker on Fortuna. They require credits or various Railjack resources to hire. Since they come from the 6 syndicates, the price will depend on your syndicate alliances. If you are aligned to the corresponding syndicate, you will be able to hire the crew member at half cost. If you are opposed, the crew member will cost double. This might depend on the rank with the certain syndicates, but I can't tell since I'm either completely aligned or completely opposed to the syndicates. The crew members have 5 stats: piloting, which determines the flying speed while the crew member is controlling the Railjack; gunnery, which determines the overheating and accuracy while the crew member is using the dorsal turrets; repair, which determines the efficiency and heal rate while the crew member is repairing the Railjack; combat, which determines the damage that the crew member deals to enemies in combat; and finally, endurance, that determines the crew member's health and shield capacity. Which stats you want in a crew member depends on what role you want to assign to them. There are 4 roles that you can assign to your crew members. These can be assigned on your dry dock, and then changed during Railjack missions. The most important role, in my opinion, is the engineer. They will repair your Railjack and make sure it doesn't explode while you're otherwise occupied. If you're only going to have 1 crew member, I suggest having an engineer. Then, if you're going to have 2 members, get yourself a pilot. They will fly the Railjack if you're not doing it. It's important to keep your Railjack on the move so it doesn't get shot as much. Then you can also have a gunner that will operate the dorsal turrets, or a defender that will kill boarders. All crew members default to being defenders if they don't have a role assigned or if they don't have anything else to do. So when you are looking to hire crew members, keep in mind which role you need them for. For the engineer, look for 4 or 5 in repair, the pilot in piloting, and the gunner in gunnery. Personally, I also look for high combat and endurance stats for all my crew members, because that way they can defend themselves or I can swap them to defenders if necessary. You can also use a converted Kuva Lich if you have high enough command, and the Liches are more tanky and harder to kill than regular crew. You can still hire a defender with high combat and endurance if you want to use them specifically as an on-call member. Of course, you can ignore all of my suggestions and hire them exclusively based on their names or descriptions.
You're shipping out with a legend.
On a dry dock, in the Configure Railjack panel, you can manage your crew. You can choose your crew members, assign roles, and change their appearance. If you click on Train, you can assign additional competency points, or redistribute them. You can also equip some of your primary or secondary weapons to the crew members. They will use these weapons in both Railjack missions or if summoned in normal missions, so I suggest giving them good ones. If you want to fire a crew member, you can go down to Contracts and then click End Contract. This will release the crew member and free up a crew slot, so you can hire another one. The crew members are actually very reliable in missions. They do what they do well, but they don't do everything that needs to be done. I have managed to complete Venus, Neptune and Pluto Proxima solo, but I've have a bit of trouble in Vale Proxima. It's not impossible, but it is harder and takes more time than playing with a good squad of Tenno. So here's what you can expect from the AI from my experience. The engineer will fix any damage to your railjack, including hull breaches, within the time limit, unless they get killed by boarders. They will attack boarders and patrol the ship if there is nothing else for them to do. Unlike Tenno engineers, the AI doesn't use the forge, so that's something you will need to take care of yourself. Still, if you get a hull breach while you're off doing something else, you can count on your engineer to fix it. The pilot will fly your railjack if nobody else is doing it, otherwise they will patrol the ship and attack boarders if necessary. If they are flying, they will fly to the objective and then circle around it, and they will try to avoid enemy fighters. They can't boost or drift, so the flying speed and maneuverability is worse than when you are flying the ship yourself. My biggest issue with my pilot is that she makes it very hard to use forward artillery. If I line up the shot and go to use the artillery, by the time I get the artillery charged, she will turn the ship away from my target. And if I let her fly, she won't look at cruise ships long enough for me to charge the artillery. The only way to use forward artillery, if you're playing solo, is to line it up yourself, and then make sure your pilot has something else to do so that they don't ruin your shot. The gunner will stay and use the dorsal turret for the whole mission, unless you tell them to do something else. They are pretty good at shooting down enemy fighters, but they won't use ordnance or the forward artillery, and they won't shoot at objectives or cruise ships. I usually switch the gunner to defender if there are enemies on board that need to be taken care of. I don't usually have a designated defender since they don't have anything to do unless your railjack gets boarded. In conclusion, you can rely on your crew to keep your ship in one piece, fly around and take down enemy fighters, but you will still need to use the foundry, take down cruise ships and do the objectives yourself. They are worse than a good Tenno squad, but more reliable than random Tenno who have no idea what to do. And they won't complain if you want to do one mission for 3 hours to farm something specific.